What's up, Tasty Tasters? So today, you guys, we're going to make beef stew, a nice fall meal. So let's go ahead and jump into the ingredients you're going to need. You're going to need some organic carrots, cut and peeled. You're going to need some organic celery. Now, I'm using organic. You guys know I always use organic stuff. You can use whatever you choose. You don't have to use organic. I have a sweet vidalia onion. I have 4 russet potatoes, Lipton onion soup mix. Of course, you're going to need some beef stew meat. I'm using kosher beef stew meat because of the way that it is actually done. I'll tell you about that later. We're actually going to need some low sodium chicken broth. You can actually use beef broth if you choose. I'm using chicken broth, but there's a reason for that. We're going to go ahead and you can use some Southwest Chipotle Mrs. Dash, some garlic powder. You're going to need your complete seasoning or the perfect seasoning. You're going to need some avocado oil, pink Himalayan salt, the Better Than Bouillon beef flavored base. You're going to need some butter. You're going to need some white pepper, the normal suspects, cherub's rib rub, and Soulard grill. So guys, grab your ingredients and come on back. I'll see you in a few. Okay, Tasty Tasters, so we've rinsed off our meat and we have it on the plate. Let me tell you this. One of the reasons why I chose to use kosher beef is, as you can see, you see the pretty brightness. It's actually the closest thing to organic because they add no preservatives. If you want to go ahead and go online and look at the kosher process when it comes to meat, definitely do that. But that is why I'm using kosher beef stewed meat. I'm not using organic today, okay? So guys, in this little bowl here, I have a half a cup of melted butter, a half a teaspoon of white pepper, and I have a 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne. So what we're going to do is we're going to inject these little morsels with our butter. The reason why is because butter brings a flavor to the meat. So we're just going to inject it, as you can see. Butter brings a flavor to the meat. So you don't have to do a whole lot of injecting, but you want to do enough. You're going to know when it's injected because you're going to see it's going to kind of plump up in the middle. You see that? Are you looking? It kind of plumps in the middle. And you see the butter might possibly start coming out. That's fine, okay? So we're going to inject these morsels and then we're going to season them, okay? Okay, now in our bowl, we're going to mix our seasons, guys. We want a little bit, we're going to go a little pepper forward with this. So I'm going to use a half a teaspoon of white pepper. I'm going to use a tablespoon of garlic powder. I'm going to use a half a teaspoon of our Southwest Chipotle. I'm going to use a half a teaspoon of cherub's rib rub and a half a teaspoon of Soulard grill. We're going to use a actually a full teaspoon of salt. I'm sorry, a half a teaspoon of salt. Because you got to remember the butter has salt in it. And so guys, this is our seasoning mix. This is what we're going to use to season our meat. And then we're going to put it in the refrigerator and let it sit for 30 minutes to an hour. Okay, so now guys, we're going to season our meat. Of course, we're going to do both sides. You want to save at least a tablespoon of this seasoning mix that we did. Okay? We're going to just season softly. We don't have to go too far in. Just season. You guys can see that like it's adhering to the butter. So we're just seasoning. Make sure you season each piece of meat on both sides. A lot of times when I eat beef stew, guys, I eat it and I love the beef stew, the flavor, all that other stuff. But for me, I like my meat to have seasoning. A lot of times when I eat beef stew, I don't always taste the seasoning in the actual meat. So that is why hence the butter and the seasonings and the sitting for 30 minutes to an hour. I'm going to let you know now this is going to sit for a whole hour. If you don't have time like that, then you can do 30 minutes. It'll be okay. Okay, so guys, we have seasoned everybody at the party. I'm going to go ahead and put some saran wrap on this and pop these guys in the fridge for an hour. Okay, so while our meat is in the fridge for the hour, we have our crock pot that's on low. We're going to go ahead and add in our chicken broth, because what you don't want to do is add hot food to a cold crock pot or to cold liquid, okay? So we're going to use our full container of chicken broth. Actually, I'm using a container and a half. So this container is 32 fluid ounces. So you're going to use right at 50 fluid ounces. So a container and a half, so about 50, 55 fluid ounces. And you're going to need all this fluid because you're going to need it for your potatoes to cook and your carrots, okay? So we're going to go ahead and add that in. Let that warm up. To this, we're going to add in also about a half a tablespoon of our beef base. Which is going to give us that beefy flavor. And you're going to mix this around in there, you guys, until it dissipates, okay? And that's going to give you that beefier flavor. Also, if you don't want to do beef base, you can just do beef broth, okay? So go ahead and put that in. We're going to whisk that around. This is going to bring you that extra beefy flavor. And kind of let this heat up while you're waiting on your meat. Okay, guys, so now that our broth is actually warm, we're going to add the remaining of our seasoning mix from earlier, which is about a tablespoon of that. We're going to add in our package of Lipton onion soup mix, the full package. We're going to add in a teaspoon of avocado oil. We're going to whisk this together. Now, what you want to do also is you want to go ahead and remove your beef from the refrigerator and let it sit out for about 10 minutes or 15 minutes so it can get room temperature. In the meantime, we're building flavor in here. So we also want to add in another teaspoon, half a teaspoon of our perfect seasoning complete. I'm going to whisk this together. I'm going to grab a spoon and taste this to make sure that it's where it needs to be. Okay. That's really good. But it needs a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. So we're going to go in with a half a teaspoon of salt. Half a teaspoon of salt, a fourth of a teaspoon of white pepper, and let me rinse my spoon and make sure we're okay. See? That's really good. Now, if you wanted to have a little bit more pep, which I actually do want a little extra something, I'm going to come back in with a little bit more of my Southwest Chipotle Mrs. Dash. Rinse my spoon again. Let me try that. Well, that was good. But I still feel like I know who's missing from the party. I think we need a little bit more cherries rib rub. About a half a teaspoon. And a little bit more Soulard grill. About a half a teaspoon. I'm going to whisk that together. And guys, I actually want a little bit more spice in the backdrop. So I'm going to hit this with a 1/4 of a teaspoon of red pepper flake. Okay? So we're going to mix it up again. And remember guys, bland plus seasoning equals bland. So we know that the meat has flavor, but we know our vegetables are pretty much blank canvases, okay? So let's see what we've got going on now. Much better. Much better. I want to add in, of course you guys know in my cooking, I always add in some extra. I'm coming in with a half a teaspoon of Applewood Smoke. Let's see where we're at. I think that did it, you guys. And then we're going to let this heat back up for another, probably about 15 minutes or so while we let our meat do what it's going to do, okay? Let's see. Yep. That was it. Woo, that's it right there. Okay. Okay, so what we're doing now, I just dropped in a tablespoon of avocado oil. We're going to sear off our beef. We're just going to sear it on each side. We're not going to fully cook it. We just want to put a sear on it, and then we're going to drop it over into our crock pot. Oh, sorry. By the time you place everybody in the pot, we should almost be ready to turn them. Okay, so we've turned everybody over. The sear is almost complete. Once you see, and basically what the sear is going to do is going to help seal in the juices and keep all the flavor inside the meat and keep it moist. So once we get this seared off, we're going to go ahead and pour everything, including the juices, over into our crock pot. So while we went ahead and we were finishing up our sear, we're going to add all of our veggies. So this is our 4 potatoes. This is half of our bag of carrots that I've cut in half. This is 4 stalks of celery and 1 sweet vidalia onion. We're going to drop everybody in the pot. So while we're going ahead and do that, we're going to go ahead and grab our meat. Okay, now we're adding in all our meat and the beautiful juices, and we're going to let this go low and slow for the next 4 hours. So we're going to put this on low for the next 4 hours. Then we're going to come back in. We're going to add some more beef base, you guys. And after we add in more beef base to give us a little bit more beefiness, we're going to add in some cornstarch to go ahead and thicken it up. So we're going to leave this at 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours on low. Or if this is before you add your thickener, okay? So 4 to 5 hours on low before we add our thickener. And then once we add our thickener, we're going to leave it in for another hour. Okay, Tasty Taster. So this has been cooking for the last 5 hours, okay? So now we want to go in, we're going to add in 1, 2, 3 tablespoons of cornstarch that's going to thicken up our stuff. So we want to actually kind of temper it into, you want to pull out some broth or some of your actual liquid. You want to kind of merge this in to that liquid. We're going to put that liquid back. Pull this close to us here. We're going to put that liquid back into our crock pot. We're going to stir. This should thicken this up. So guys, we're going to go ahead. Now I did taste this, guys, and I added a little bit more salt. So you guys want to do this to your taste and your liking, okay? Mine has a little bit of kick to it because I added in the crushed red pepper flake. If you don't want a little spiciness in yours, don't add in the crushed red pepper, okay? So now we're going to go back on with our lid. We're going to stay on low, and we're going to let this go for another hour to an hour and a half, possibly 2 hours, depending upon your crock pot and the thickness you desire, okay? So you're going to go anywhere for the next hour and a half to 2 hours, okay? And it's going to stay on low. See you guys. Okay, tasty tasters. So here's the finished product. Let me start by saying, as you can see, my bowl does not have as much in it as it possibly could. Let me show you what happened over here in the crock pot. Okay, so you guys see that my crock pot is down. I don't know if you can tell, but literally down tremendously. You can see where it was to where it is. So my family came over, my siblings, my nieces, my niece, and her dad, and yada, 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 my mom. Everybody ends up in my bowl of beef stew. Guys, I told them that it was for recording purposes, but as you see, they didn't care. So, moving right along, I guess I can close up my crock pot here with the little bit that's left. They fished out all my veg, all my meat. I was like, you guys. So anyways, I finally got myself a bowl of beef stew. It's not totally full, but it's going to have to do. And I'm not really hungry right now, guys, because I literally ate something else. So I just thought that was funny. When I came here and opened my lid, I was like, okay, so I guess this was a success. So anyway, guys, let me go ahead and get my taste in since everybody else has tasted it. See what this finished product is like. Let me get a little bit of everything. A little potato, onion, carrot, everything on the menu. And it's hot too, so let me blow. Oh my gosh. Well, what I must say is, now I understand why my pot is almost empty now. This is really, really, really good. I better get myself a huge bowl full, because there's a chance that I won't get any. But anyway, tasty tasters, you know what it is. Comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Give your girl a thumbs up, and go ahead and slide back over, hit that notification bell, ding, 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 so you can know next time Tasty LB comes on with another video. So until next time, tasty tasters, it's always a pleasure. See you later.